Welcome back to Endless Ocean.
Nah.
Today I'm joined again by Chirokacho.
No.
Already got our sample back.
Came back positive.
I was right. It's a baleen piece. Ain't a whisker at all.
Oh my. Somebody's been fucking this whale. Real big. Somebody fucking that mama.
She's not being very scientific about this. She's just, saying, it's a big thing that may have belonged to a large blue whale of some sort. Clearly it's the ancient mother!
Or it could just be a freak.
Yep. So we need to collect information about the whales in the area. We've already met two of the whales. The sperm whale and the North Atlantic right whale.
Yes, I remember those.
So there's two more in the area that we'll be seeing in the future.
Giant testicles and a head full of spermaceti.
I hope the other two whales aren't as gross.
Whales are pretty gross animals, Zorak.
It's true.
One way or another.
Yeah, it's true. Anyways, in the meantime, we're going to be looking for the last compass component. It could be in a variety of areas. There's a large area here we haven't explored.
You know exactly where it's at. Quit playing Pollock Coy.
Yeah, it's in none of these areas here. It's in fact in the very first place where we dived in the game, in the lagoon. As you may recall, when we first started diving, we couldn't actually pick up any objects or see any objects. So they basically hid it there where you would never see it unless you decided to dive back in the most boring part of the game again.
That is such a dick move.
Yeah, it is, kind of.
I mean, it makes sense. It's clever in a stupid asshole sort of way.
Yeah, they're kind of expecting that you'll eventually go back to these various areas and just look and see if you missed anything. Because presumably most people aren't as thorough as we are, or as I am, I suppose.
I believe the word you mean is spurgin.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Then again, I haven't been exactly that completionist all in all. I'm more spurging in the talk about fish sort of way.
Oh, yes.
I'm not quite sure why I'm feeding these tang either, because you can clearly see the sparkle in the distance right now.
Sometimes you just gotta feed tang. And if I had to feed a tang, I think I'd go with the blue one.
I've had two different types of tang.
So I just noticed a counter when you were feeding those fish. Do you only have a limited number of food each dive?
Yes.
Weird.
I'm not sure why. It really makes... It's kind of like the air tank thing in here. There's just really no reason you should actually use it all up. Especially since you really don't need it in most cases, ever.
Yeah, really.
There's really not that many fish where you can only befriend them using food, so... That's basically the lagoon. Nothing's changed. We'd never really missed anything here,
Your dolphin screaming.
Yeah, he's just doing that in general. He's just being talkative. So yeah, that's it for the lagoon. Might as well head back.
Let's get the hell out of here.
But we found all three compass components, so we're finally done with that.
It's only 3 components?
Yeah. I'm not sure why all 3 compass components are scattered to all 3 corners of this area, but...
You'd think that'd be 4.
Yeah.
It feels right.
But they're not that kind of compass, parts. They're layered parts, not corners.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It just used to things being split into 4. As opposed to a new one.
An 18th century European compass inspired by Chinese design.
Some Latin, huh?
On seas we live, on seas we die. The tide does swell as years go by. The whale isle calls, and so we roam. 3 stars we have to guide us home. Well, that's weird. Presumably the whale isle is in fact Manolai, which kind of fits into the ongoing thing we have right now with us looking for the White Mother. And the star points apparently correspond to these 3 locations on our map somehow.
Or we could take it that the Whale Island is Earth and aliens are behind this.
No.
No,
No.
just a theory, sorry.
No.
Alright.
Presumably, if we go to these 3 locations, or at least one of these locations, we'll find something, whatever it is. One of the locations is, in fact, down here at E8. I'm just looking up at one of the other locations around E5. So let's try going down to E8. See if we find anything.
Oh, I can't wait. So do you like leave with the penguin and he just follows you? Or
Yeah, if...
are you kidnapping the penguins?
Well, kinda, I guess. Anytime you move your boat and there's something on the boat before you move, it will continue to be on your boat. So yeah, you are functionally kidnapping it to another part of the ocean.
You stole that penguin from its family.
Yes.
You sicken me. Little penguin lost.
It's not like it's a large sea by any means anyways. So I'm going to throw it out there that there is nothing actually at this point right now.
Nothing you say.
There's nothing to correspond with the compass, and in fact there's nothing new at all whatsoever. There's the scalloped hammerhead, and that's in fact the most interesting thing we will be finding here.
So there's nothing here is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm about to go up to the surface of the point to reinforce the fact that there's nothing interesting that has anything to do with the
Fuck
compass.
that shit,
on it.
I'm out. Fuck that, I'm out. I'm out. Far away now!
Okay, sure, I'll take over it by myself. So, as you can see, like I said, nothing around. Yep, I guess I'll have to talk about something by myself for a little while. During this boring rest of the dive.
Wow, you didn't do shit.
Yeah, there was really nothing there. Oh well.
That was possibly the most boring, stupid piece of ocean I've ever seen.
Yeah. Again, I suppose if I'd gone there first, it would have been entirely fascinating. And there is something there at night that is new. But, yoinks! It's a ghost ship.
Uh-oh. A ghost ship, huh?
Yeah,
So now we're investigating ghosts?
maybe. This guy heard a story, he told us about it.
Perhaps some ghost whales? We could get that. Be marginally more related.
I don't know. Let's go sit on a chair for a second.
Some Bake Kujira, if you will.
Well, I didn't see any ghosts out there,
Nope.
so I don't know. Well, we might as well dive at one of the other places on our compass, as well as...
Oh, please let there be something else there.
Well, there's gonna be some more interesting things there, and maybe we'll see if there's anything new also with regards to our compass locations.
Great.
You know, see if we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. First, let's just make sure and check our compass quick. Yep, so it has the message again, and it gives the locations. E5, H6, E9.
It's really kind of amazing that it has the actual coordinates on the chart.
Yeah, it's quite convenient.
Now, what are the odds of that?
Maybe it's just our own annotation, though. You know, we could have... It's our own interpretation, you know. The coordinate, you know, it relates to these coordinates on our chart. So E5 is one of the places we haven't gone to yet.
Yeah, let's go to E5. I noticed there was no penguin this time, so
He vanished between dives.
you just kind of abandoned him in strange, unfamiliar water.
It's only like 30 feet away anyways.
Somebody's gonna reunite that penguin with his family, and he's gonna get a power star for it.
Or he's gonna toss it off the cliff.
Well, yeah.
And seeing as how we're looking for a potentially spooky thing, given that email, let's get a little spookier in our outfits. We won't really have a lot of the unlocks, but let's move to... yeah. Sloppy gray hair and a redder suit.
My god, you're beautiful. Like an anime.
Please. I don't know why I hit that there, other than I wanted to try going at night.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna look for a ghost ship, you want to do it with dim light where anything could be mistaken for something else. That's my experience, anyway. Spooky.
And there's nothing here initially from the looks of it.
Fucking great!
I don't see anything right now, at least, you know. Nothing up here. Oh god, there's a boat! Oh wait, that's ours.
Perhaps it is the ghost boat. It is the ghost boat all along.
Yeah. Let's try on the other side of the boat. Maybe there's something different over here.
Leave me in the port side of the boat.
Yep, that's a ghost ship, right where we were diving before.
Great!
So the compass components actually have to do with that ghost ship we heard about. How interesting.
How convenient.
It's almost as if, immediately after finding the compass component, we managed to unlock enough of the map that we got the email that unlocked the ghost ship showing up.
How peculiar.
Metagaming this! Speedrunning!
Oh god, a speedrun of Endless Ocean. How fast can you touch them fish?
Anyways, Hulkamet's gonna tell us a little bit about ghost ships.
Ghost ships, Neve Animo, are ships that are found floating adrift with its crew missing. Just gone, as in they've never been seen again. We don't really know what happened to them, and honestly, there's a minuscule chance we ever will. It's really just a big mystery, and if you're a guy like me who loves unsolved shit, these ghost ships are pretty awesome. Probably the most famous ghost ship, excluding the Flying Dutchman, is the Mary Celeste, a brigantine that sailed out of New York City to deliver 1,700 barrels of alcohol to Genoa, Italy, on November 5th, 1872. On board the ship was Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife and 2-year-old daughter, and a crew of 7 others. Before setting sail, Captain Briggs met an old friend in New York named David Morehouse, a captain of another brigantine named the Dei Gratia. They had dinner together, just having a good time. Both men had a pretty similar course, but they couldn't leave at the same time, as Morehouse was waiting on his cargo to arrive. The Mary Celeste left the next day, and the Dei Gratia left either 7 or 8 days later. We don't really know. During the next month, a lot of bad weather had been reported in the Atlantic, but the Dei Gratia hadn't actually encountered anything really that bad. It was a pretty uneventful month for them. However, on December 4th, or 5th, again, we don't really know, the helmsman of the Dei Gratia discovered a ship around 5 miles from their port, and realized something wasn't right with that ship. The ship wasn't going straight through the water, and its sails were slightly torn. The helmsman reported this to his second officer, who then reported it to Captain Morehouse. They went to investigate, and yep, you guessed it, it was the Mary Celeste. The Dei Gratia crew were keeping an eye on the Mary Celeste for around 2 hours. Nobody was seen on the helm or on the deck, and they eventually figured out that, yeah, she was drifting. The chief mate of the Dei Gratia boarded the Mary Celeste and found nobody on board. The ship was a mess, had only 1 operational pump, and over 3 feet of water were in the hold. The ship was not sinking though, and quite frankly was still worthy of traveling to sea. Things found on the ship include the captain's logbook, a clock that wasn't working, a destroyed compass, a rope tied to the ship with the other end trailing in the water, a 6-month supply of good food and water, and all the personal belongings of the crew. All the alcohol was still there, though later it was discovered that 9 of the barrels were completely empty. Missing from the boat was all the ship's papers, a marine chronometer, a sextant, the peak halyard, and the ship's only lifeboat. There are so many possibilities to what could have happened to this crew. We have theories like piracy, though that's not really the best theory because, again, their personal belongings were all on board as well as all that alcohol. There were theories of tsunamis, there was bad weather reported, a water sprout, a mutiny, though mutiny isn't really the most popular opinion. Maybe they abandoned the ship prematurely, or maybe everyone just got completely wasted. 9 whole barrels of alcohol were missing. The most accepted one of these theories is actually an explosion, though really, I don't know what the fuck. It has something to do with the fact that red oak barrels could have caused a spark with the white oak barrels, and really I just don't know. And quite frankly, even if I did, we never really will know what happened. It is a pretty awesome story though. Flashing ahead around 135 years later, there's another much more recent ghost ship that people have actually compared to the Mary Celeste, the Kaz-2. The Kaz-2 was a yacht owned by a man named Derek Batten who took his neighbors, James and Peter Tunstead, out on a trip from Airlie Beach to Townsville, Australia on April 15, 2007. It only took 3 days before a helicopter saw the boat and reported that it was heading towards the Great Barrier Reef and the crew might be in distress. 2 days later, maritime authorities caught up to the boat and they discovered that everything on the boat was fine, everything was perfectly normal, except the 3-man crew was nowhere to be found. The engine was running, everything was fully functional. The laptop computer was left on, food was set up on the table. All the life jackets were still on board. The only thing that was really off was one of the sails were slightly damaged. A fishing lure had been entangled in the ship's portside rudder, and there was no lifeboat, though we really don't know if they even had a lifeboat to begin with. The Kaz-2 was brought into Townsville for forensic examinations, and they found no evidence of foul play. They analyzed data from the ship's GPS system and say that on the day the ship left, the ship steered towards the northeast, going off of the route they had planned. On that same day, the GPS also showed that the ship was just floating adrift, presumably showing it wasn't very long before the crew disappeared. Even a video recording of the crew on the day they left was found, showing the men on board doing their own things. The engine was off and the fenders were out. All 3 men were just gone. They disappeared. The search started and they were never found. There are several theories as to what happened. One theory is that since the fenders were out, another boat may have docked with them and may have taken the crew. Though again, there really weren't any signs of foul play, so that may not be the best conclusion. Another theory is that they got stuck on a sandbar near George Point, the area in which they had last radioed in their position, and jumped overboard to try and push it free. A gust of wind, though, may have blew the boat away, leaving them stranded. Maybe a big wave had blown one man overboard and the others tried to save him, but to no avail. Maybe they had some difficulty during really rough weather, though a problem with that theory is that everything on the ship looks much too tidy for something like that to have happened. In the state coroner's official report, the belief is that since a fishing lure had been found tangled in the port side rudder, one of the men on board tried to free it, but fell overboard while doing so. One of the other men tried to rescue whoever went overboard, while Batten turned on the motor of the boat before realizing he needed to drop the sails before he could turn back. As he went to do this on his own, a change in the ship's course could have easily knocked him overboard. With nobody left on board, all 3 men were doomed to the sea. But again, we don't know. Anything could have happened. And that's what makes these ghost ship stories really, really interesting. What happened to these people? Why were their ships left abandoned? There are so many ghost ship stories like these ones, and they're all kind of spooky when you read about them. Ships like the Beichimo, a ship that hadn't been salvaged and for 38 years was seen floating adrift by many people before never being seen again. The Carol A. Deering, a schooner whose crew disappeared, and there has been explanations from piracy to paranormal explanations. The Octavius, a ship that supposedly had been drifting amongst ice for 13 years with a completely frozen crew still on board. They're all incredibly interesting, and I just love reading about them. They're awesome. Fucking creepy to read about when it's 2 a.m. though.
Thank you for that, Hulkamat.
Alchemat knows a lot about ships and ghosts.
A little bit of an enemy fish again. And turns out I don't have to feed them to befriend them. Just, I can touch them.
Those are freaks.
Maybe. Sea anemones and an enemy fish like the clownfish have a very interesting sort of symbiosis where they have, a mutual relationship.
Right.
Symbiosis, though, isn't just mutual interactions. It can be any sort of shared long-term interaction between different species. It's a rather interesting area of biology, in fact. Mutualism is the one that we have with the anemone fish, though it includes other stuff where there's a shared benefit between both species involved. Gut fauna in the stomach of animals, such as our own, is a good example. Of course, gut fauna can kill you if you do have a stomach issues. They do kill whales on occasion. Another example is, of course, the goby fish with their shrimp buddies.
The onigoby.
Like the onigoby. Shrimp digs the burrow. Goby and the shrimp will both live in it. And the shrimp is basically blind, so the goby warns the shrimp when there's danger by touching them with their tail. And they both hide in the hole. Many species of ant have mutual relationships with trees. Ant gets stuff like sap in a home. Tree gets protection from certain predators, because nothing wants to fuck with a swarm of ants. Especially killerous murder ants.
Yeah, murder ants are usually a problem.
Pollinating animals are another good mutualist relationship. Obviously, pollinating benefits the plants, and of course, the animals that do the pollinating get food. It's win-win.
See, my favorite symbiotic relationship is actually a type of parasite. It's a type of barnacle called Sacculina. And what this barnacle does is it attaches itself to a crab, and it basically drives this crab around. And one of the things it does is it tricks the crab into producing an egg sac, and it makes it produce, basically it's protecting the barnacle's eggs. The weird thing is it does this with male crabs too. It'll actually alter their physiology to make them more female.
Bizarre.
The bizarre thing is there's actually another parasitic barnacle that parasitizes that parasite barnacle. It's called a hyperparasite. It's a parasite that parasitizes a parasite.
And that's especially weird thinking about it, that barnacles are basically crabs anyways in and of themselves. I mean, they're not crabs, but they're very closely related.
They are crustaceans, yes.
So it's like a crab parasiting a crab parasiting a crab. It's like 3 crabs all the way down.
Hey, white-sided dolphins. I love white-sided dolphins.
They're very uninteresting dolphins, though.
They really are, but they got white sides, and it makes them not as boring as bottlenose dolphins.
The only real interesting thing about white-sided dolphins is that they're closely related to dusky dolphins, but they're distinct enough we think that they're separate species because they diverged around 2 million years ago.
Alright.
So that's enough of a divergence. We think that, means basically 2 species.
Why not? Why the fuck not?
Other examples of mutual symbiosis, though, less negative like those barnacles, are, of course, pest-removing animals like cleaner fish, and cleaner birds, and other sorts of cleaner things, and domesticated animals are, of course, an example, though I'm sure some people would say that's not quite symbiotic. I'd say it counts. We both benefit from it. Dogs get food, we get companionship and protection from dog, and dogs also hunt for us. That was their original reason for us domesticating them, so...
Yeah, that counts.
It's symbiotic. There's also communalism, which is different from mutualism, where one species benefits, but the other is unaffected. Cattle egrets feeding on bugs knocked up by grazing cattle.
Right.
orchids and moss on trees when they're not so much that they're suffocating or killing the tree. The barnacles that aren't parasiting stuff in the negative way, where they're just kind of sticking on a whale or something, not doing anything. Remoras, though remoras do sometimes also clean, so that would be mutualistic when they do that. Louses. Louses don't always feed on stuff. Sometimes they go for rides. Louses are gross.
Yeah, they really are.
Whale louses. God, they're gross. Ugh. So creepy. There's so many of them, and they're just like little spiders just crawling over whales. And normally there's not that many of them on a whale, but gross.
They sure are.
And of course, parasites then are where one species benefits and the other is harmed. Good example, of course, is the barnacle you mentioned. Any sort of viral or bacterial infection that's ultimately negative. There's really not that many macroscopic parasites, though, that are on a large scale.
Right, right.
I can think of cuckoo birds. They lay an egg in, other birds' nests, and so the egg gets raised by better parents, and so one bird, the cuckoo, benefits, the other parents, suffer because they're confused. That's really all I can think about around the large scale.
Right, yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm sure there's others, but offhand, that's all I can think of.
Sometimes you get symbiotes from space, and they kind of interact with spiders, and they make them all black.
Sometimes red.
Yes, sometimes.
But only if they come off the black ones after the fact.
Yes.
And then they're crazy and they attach to serial killers. And sometimes they produce other ones, too, that are, like, purple, and it gets very confusing after a while.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's, like, tons of them everywhere, and it gets weird.
What the hell is that Moorish idol doing? That was weird.
Sometimes they also parasitize T-Rexes in alternate timelines. No idea.
No, but I must research this more.
An odd sort of symbiosis that I just read about recently is that apparently golden jackals in India have a sort of symbiotic relationship with tigers. I've never heard about this before, but apparently the way it works is that it borders on communalism and mutualism, as in the golden jackal, when it's like a single individual, like a single male, not part of any sort of jackal pack, I guess.
Right, right.
Will follow the tigers around and just kind of see if the tiger kills something and keep at a distance. And then they'll just move up into the kill zone and just feed on, scavenge off the tiger's kill. But the thing is, they will also alert tigers occasionally of when there is a kill by barking, going, hey, there's a kill over here. So I guess it's kind of mutualism sometimes. It's interesting. Don't really think that sort of thing would exist, but...
In Central America, the black vulture follows king vultures around because the black vulture's beak isn't strong enough to actually cut into a corpse, so it waits for the king vulture to actually open up rotting things. It's kind of neat.
Yep.
Oh, look at that goby.
Speaking of gobies, we did find a goby.
I like gobies.
And it's one of those weird ones where they don't state the species, though.
It is weird because you see them in the second game and they actually give them a species.
Oh, do they?
I don't know if it's just they couldn't figure out what the species was for this game, but yeah. Like that flathead fish we saw earlier, we do actually see... It's a broadtail flatfish. So...
In general, they seem to do a lot more research in the second game. They actually have more facts actually in the profiles that have something to do with anything that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they finally discovered Wikipedia between the games or something. Like, my god.
It's far less tedious actually getting all of the data, too, so... But we'll see that later. Ooh, lionfish. Don't touch it! Don't touch it!
I'm touching it. Tough shit.
The tips of its fins are covered in poison. You realize that, right?
Well, I'm touching its head.
Don't touch it. It's got things on its head, too.
I'm not worried. I've got the golden hands. Nothing can hurt me.
Lionfish, they're native to the Indian and Pacific Ocean, but recently they've established themselves in the Caribbean and the Atlantic, and they've actually been a major threat all the way up towards, like, Chesapeake Bay. Basically, state of Florida, you can actually just apply for a license to hunt the bastards all you want. Because they're ravenous and nothing around here can eat them because of their poison. They themselves taste pretty good, though.
Were they introduced as like a pet released or?
As far as we know, yeah, they were released by aquariums.
Oh,
Always the aquariums.
fucking aquariums.
They swim slow as hell, but they don't give a shit about anything. So
Well, presumably, eventually something will adapt to eat them. Eventually.
eventually, yeah, okay, we do.
Well, yeah.
Look at that epaulet shark.
I do hear that they are, in fact, encouraging people to fish them. Like they're saying, please, people, eat this fish.
Oh yeah. We actually see them under our docks every once in a while.
Have you guys eaten any of them yet?
I have eaten one, yeah.
Is it good?
They're not bad.
Huh.
Not my favorite, but they're not bad.
Not as good as the delicious nurse shark?
The nurse shark was fucking delicious. There was no reason for that shark to be as good as it was.
I would really think that, though. Then again, it's probably just eating only stuff like clams and like...
They mostly eat just the bottom dwellers, so they taste less fishy, more gamey, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Everything they eat has to be probably pretty delicious, like clams, oysters, you know.
Yeah, they're not bad.
I could see that tasting quite delicious. It's like a shark full of oysters. It's ritzy as hell, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't turn it down.
And thankfully, nurse sharks aren't really endangered, so...
Oh god, no least concern. They're actually starting to overpopulate.
That's good. You're doing your part, then.
Damn right.
Well, we located the ghost ship. It's over there. And hopefully it won't move between dives. Sometimes it does that.
It's gonna fucking move.
I hope not. And maybe we can see what the deal with that is. Maybe it leads to something new, something interesting. But we'll see that next time. See you then.
Bitchin'!